Hi, I'm Shane and welcome to Rockin the Planet, the show dedicated to bringing live New Zealand music to your television screens every single week of the year. And I am so happy this evening to bring more live music to you in the name of the Kavalliers. Aren't they wonderful? And tonight I've got Andy Shackleton. How are you, Andy?
Good,
and Bruce Jarvis. It's good to have you guys here. Two members of the Kavalliers anyway. The others are still out there doing that, you know. But anyway, we're going to go to the CT Club and catch up with them where they were rocking their socks off just last week on the Friday night.
You went away and left me a long time ago. Now you're knocking on my door. I hear you knocking, but you can't come in. I hear you knocking, go back where you been. I begged you not to go, but you said goodbye. Now you're telling me all those lies. I hear you knocking, that you can't come in. I hear you knocking, go back where you been. All right now, let's go, man. Better get back to your used to be. If your kind of love ain't good for me, I hear you knocking, but you can't come in. I hear you knocking, go back where you been. I told you, baby, back in 52, I would never go with you. Go back where you been. I hear you knocking. I hear you knocking. Yeah. I hear you knocking. Go back where you been.
I hear you knocking. Yes, I certainly do. And believe me, I'm knocking on someone's door here. Mr. Andy Shackleton from the Kavalliers. Good to see you here, mate.
And you.
Really wonderful. I'm enjoying the experience to meet a good old stellar rock and roller. You must have been around just nearly as long as I have, or longer, I think.
Longer,
But
I would imagine.
Thank you for bragging about that.
You're welcome.
Now, tell me, where did it all start for you, Andy? Because you've been with some great bands over the years.
I'm originally from Wellington,
Yeah.
and I started with the librettos. We actually started the librettos with Rod Stone.
Now, librettos,
Yeah.
everyone knows, went on to fame with Let's Go.
Yep.
And goodness gracious, great balls of fire. You weren't on that record, were you?
No.
But you started the band
Yep.
with Rod Stone, yeah.
And then I moved on to the Premiers, where my brother played. My brother
Fabulous
Mike
band.
played, and Peter Hindmarsh on
Yeah,
bass.
Peter Hindmarsh.
And we moved up to Auckland in 1964, I think it was,
Yeah.
at the top 20 with Tommy Italy.
And you became, yeah, 'cause I went and saw you at the Top 20.
Cool.
I went and watched you play. You were a great band. You had, what's the guy with the glasses?
Jimmy Elliott.
Jimmy Elliott
yeah.
on guitar.
Yep.
Was he from down there as well?
No, he's an Aucklander.
He was an
Yeah.
Aucklander. You picked it. Well, did he join the band up here?
Yeah, we auditioned
Yeah.
a whole lot of guys, and little Jimmy came out on
Little
top.
Jimmy, he was amazing. He had that Shadow sound, because in that era we were all crossing over from the Shadows and instrumental bands and that type of lineup and into the Beatles, and the Mersey beat thing was arriving. But what an exciting time it was for all of us. But and so your career, what made you take up the drums is what I want to know. Before you got the librettos together, you were obviously playing drums in school bands or something?
No, I actually started playing the ukulele and guitar.
Wow.
And Rod Stone and I did a sort of a Everly Brothers 13 and 14-year-old thing. And for some reason I decided to take up the drums. I can't really remember what it was. But
you needed a drummer. That's what you used to do in those days.
Yeah,
I'll play, I'll give it a go. It wasn't so
more
bad.
than likely.
But you love it, obviously. It took like a duck to water. You haven't left it alone since. You played
Well,
drums.
I have left it alone since. I gave it away for 30 odd years and then
Yeah.
took it up again 8 or 9 years ago. I
8 or
suppose.
9 years ago. And what, forming the Kavalliers? or-
No, that was before that. I just,
Yeah.
my wife had never heard me play the drums.
Yeah.
So she taught me into buying some drums, which I did.
It's not often you get a wife to talk you into drums.
No,
What a
no.
good wife you've got.
Yeah.
I mean, usually they say, shut up.
Yeah.
God,
Well, that's why I
keep the
bought,
noise down.
I bought an electronic kit. So
Oh, I
that
see,
I could
okay.
play them with the headphones.
Yeah.
And I've
And-
played electronic drums ever since.
So you couldn't upset anybody with
No,
all your
no.
clicking and clacking and banging. Yeah, which is a great idea. Now, is that the reason why you play a kit like you do? Because they're not normal these days. I mean, the 80s had a bit of a phase with those drums, and everyone started getting to electronic drums.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff, you know, and doom, 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 boom, ding, dong, all that stuff.
Yeah, now they sound much more like real
But
drums.
you've got, they sound like real drums.
Yeah.
You know, they do. You do a great job. They sound great. But you wouldn't go back to a real kit.
I don't think so, because of the sort of places we play at, where you have to keep the volume down. It's good for that.
That is actually a great. It solves a big problem, because wherever I go, we get the same thing. You know, it's too loud. Ooh.
Yeah.
And you're trying to do your best to keep it down, but it's unbelievable. It's so these days. I mean, are we playing to older crowds or what?
Well, I don't know, but it's hard to play the drums. It's hard to play the drums quietly, acoustic drums quietly, because it just doesn't sound the same.
No, you've got to hit a good drum. You've got to hit it, you know. Yeah, so, and you intend to stay with the band and carry on? I don't want to sort of cause any splits here. But
As far as I know, as long as they'll have me, yeah.
Now, you're well known around music circles, because a lot of guys say, oh, Andy, I know Andy, yeah. So you've got a good name in the business. A lot of musicians come in and they said, oh, is that Andy up there playing?
Oh,
A
yes.
couple of people said that to me, you know, the other night when you were doing your gig at the CT
Oh, that's
Club.
nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's nice.
Well, we're going to get back to the CT Club and see you play. Do you want to see some more?
Absolutely.
This is a classic rock and roll track, one of the first, by Buddy Knox, I think it was, called Party Doll.
Well, all I want is a party doll. Come along with me when I'm feeling wild. To be ever loving, true and fair. To run her fingers through my hair. Come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll. I'll make love to you, to you. I'll make love to you. Well, I saw a girl walking down the street, the kind of a girl I'd like to meet. She had blonde hair and eyes of blue. Baby, I'm gonna have a party with you. Come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll. And I'll make love to you, to you. I'll make love to you. Every man's gotta have a party doll to be with him when he's feeling wild, to be ever loving, true and fair, to run her fingers through his hair. Come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll. Come along and be my party doll. I'll make love to you, to you. I'll make love to you.
Yes, Buddy Knox and Party Doll, or I should say the Kavalliers and Party Doll. And now I've got another Cavalier here who plays bass, the meanest bass around, rock and roll, Bruce Jarvis.
Yeah,
How are you, mate?
Good evening, mate.
Now, Bruce, you've had a long and lucrative career.
Well, I stopped
I
playing.
take that lucrative as a question.
Oh, that's a good question. I've always enjoyed my music. I came back to it after a break of 30 odd years. I did start in the early 60s like Andy, played at school, and then moved on to a band on the North Shore called the Silhouettes. I joined them.
They were very well known. In
No,
the
well
early
known. We used to
60s.
play all around Auckland at the
Yeah.
clubs, and we played on Come On and made a few of those little round things with holes in the middle. I think they were called records.
Yeah,
They were called
records.
in those days.
Yes.
Vinyl.
Yes.
So yeah,
We're all vinyl people. Yeah.
But I
It's coming back.
various bands. After the Silhouettes, I was with Gray Bartlett's band, and then...
Now, Gray Bartlett's band, that was be a nice experience. Were you playing country music with him, or...?
Well, he was trying to get away a bit from country in those days, I believe, so
Yeah.
I was singing a lot of the songs. He was getting more into rock and roll, so he was trying to...
Because he played a lot of instrumentals in the early days,
Yeah,
too.
he played those multi-track things a bit
Yeah.
like Peter Poser. And
Yeah,
they were
that
very
sort of
of
thing, yeah.
competitive. Not competitive, I'm not suggesting that, but they were...
But were you playing on those sort of records?
I played on a couple of radio shows with them, and with a band called The Brew.
The Brew?
Yeah, at the radio 1ZB Radio Theatre, we used to play at some shows there.
Yeah.
And sort of the contrast between
remember
Gray
that theatre,
Bartlett's band playing... we had a trumpet player, so we did play a bit of Herb Alpert and stuff like that, but The Brew was sort of...
This would be pretty out there.
Yeah, it was sort of two sides of the music spectrum.
Who was in The Brew?
Well, it was Doug Jerubin and those sort
That's
of
the
guys.
Brew. Yeah, I'm thinking of the real Brew.
That was the real
With Tommy Ferguson.
Yeah, he was there, yeah.
And you were in the...
I started.
You were
And
in
he
The Brew
played
as
in The
well. This
Brew
is
as well.
amazing. Now, Tommy watches this show.
Yes.
If you're out there, Tommy, mate, look at what we've got going on here. It's a pity we haven't got Tommy down here. But
Yeah.
wow, that would be incredible. We have a Brew reunion.
Yeah.
Because Doug's around. I bumped into Doug Jerubin recently in a little town on the way down next to the railway station, halfway down the North Island. Tamaranui. And I went and I had to stay overnight. I was too tired. I was coming back from Wellington. I didn't want to drive anymore, and I pulled into a little motel opposite the RSA. Went in the RSA, and I'm in there, and people said, that's Shane, that fellow.
Yeah.
So I started chatting to a few people. Next thing, Doug Jerubin comes over and goes, you're Shane? I said, yeah, you're Doug. And he goes, I'm going to get the guitars. And he went home and got his guitars. And he wanted to sing all night. But yeah, so you were in the original Brew.
Well, yeah, I was involved with radio shows with them, and then I stopped playing in 1972 and joined Air New Zealand and put my old bass under the bed for 34 years. And when I left the company
in New Zealand, you were working
in New Zealand, I was a flight attendant.
Flight attendant, great job.
Skyhunk.
I think I've seen you on
Yeah, I probably have met you on
I
there,
think
I
you served me on as a flight attendant on Air New Zealand.
I met my darling
Probably
wife.
threw me off. But
No, I wouldn't do that, Shane. I think Rod Stewart had a few problems with Air New Zealand over the
yeah,
years.
well, he hasn't got the class that I've got.
Of course not. You're the man.
I never get in trouble if I can help it.
Well, I met my darling wife flying, so it was a great.
That's
great
a lovely.
we did-
So you met there. You met on
Yeah,
Air New
yeah,
Zealand.
flying
She was a
together,
flight
yeah.
attendant,
Yeah,
as,
flight
well,
attendant as well.
and the two of you married,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
continued with Air New Zealand. For
Yeah,
a
we
while?
left in 2006, and I had a phone call a few months after that from a chap called Robert Patterson, who used to play, in fact, in the band you
Yeah.
played, and Andy as well. He was in Bartlett's band back in the day, and he asked me to join a band called Alfonso, Kyle, and the Kavalliers.
Oh, fabulous.
So that's how we're drifting now from 2007 to today, with Andy playing the drums and a couple of new guitarists
So
on
it all
board this
comes
year.
around. So you never get away. You
No.
can't get away.
It's hard to get out.
Once you're in this business.
No,
mate.
and it's great to have another go at it. It really is.
But I mean, a lot of people have done what you've done. They've started out and they were full on when they were younger. Then
Yeah.
they met the lady and whatever. It's not the lady's fault. And I know your wife's here. I'm being very nice about it. It's a lovely wife. And and you come round again, and like you said, your wife encouraged you to get on back on the drums. It's wonderful. What a good thing to do. And I'm sure yours did.
Yes,
to get
same
back
thing,
out
yeah.
there, and
Yeah.
probably just to get you out of the house.
I would
Obviously,
think
we've had enough of you now. Get out, go do some work or something.
Well, it started off as a
Go
bit
and
of fun,
follow your-
yeah. Playing once, and now we're playing quite a bit.
Now it's developed into
Yeah,
because the Kavalliers are working all round.
We are working quite a bit, which is great for the band. And
Non-stop.
the band's playing very
Yeah.
well, so we're very happy.
Look, we're going to go back and see the band play again. Is that all right? So
Great.
let's get back to the CT Club for some more good old rock and roll.
There is nothing that is wrong in wanting you to stay here with me. I know you've got somewhere to go. Don't you make yourself at home and stay with me. And don't you ever leave. Well, lay down, Sally, and rest here in my arms. Don't you think you want someone to talk to?
Wonderful song made famous by Eric Clapton, of course, called Lay Down Sally. Okay, now I've got two wonderful guys here. We're talking about the Everly Brothers. Oh, sorry, you just look like the Everly Brothers. I reckon you could, the Elderly Brothers.
One of us must be dead.
Yes.
But now you guys, there are other, of course, you share the stage with two other guys.
We do, two youngsters.
Could you tell me about them, first of all?
Well, Bruce is better at
Okay, Bruce,
Oh,
you tell me who's in the band?
Well, we're lucky to have on board David Marshall, a youngster. Well, they're both young chaps, and they both look after Andy and me. And it's David Marshall who plays guitar, vocals, and
He's
vocals.
very good too.
Yeah, David's been around for a long time. He started in bands called. He played in an acoustic band back in the 70s called Wave, and they made some records and did very well.
I've seen him.
Yeah, I think
Boom,
they've
did
just
this
released.
collect, you know.
They've just re-released one of their albums recently. And in the last few years, he has played with Heartbeat, and I think the other band he played was Indigo Blue.
Yes.
But where he joined the band early this year, and at the same time we had Cliff Andrews, our guitarist. He plays harmonica as well and vocals.
You know,
he
where's
joined
he
the
come
band.
from? Has he got a history here?
Yeah, he started off at schools up in Northland there. He was in the Battle of the Bands when he was at school, and in the 70s he played with a band called Drut and then Hickory, and they were on Radio with Pictures with Karen Hay. Hickory, they were well. And he more or less in the 80s went to BBC, which was a cover band like ourselves, but then he started a solo career, and he was solo for a long time, and he's told us that he hadn't played for a while, but he really got sick of his own voice, so he was pleased to join Andy and
Got sick of carrying
David
his
and
own
myself.
gear.
Yeah. So now he's joined the Kavalliers, and the band's sounding better.
And
than
how
ever.
long has he been with the band?
Both the guys joined the band this year, so
This year,
Andy
so-
and myself.
and give you a brand new fresh air, breath of fresh air, I should say. And
we're lucky to have them on board.
And it just seems like really exciting because, I mean, I've worked with you guys
Yes.
at a rock and roll gig in Freeman's Bay. It was the Rock and Roll Club,
Yep.
and I was the show sort of thing,
Yeah.
and I came along. And I think you were five-piece then, and so on. And one of your members passed away.
Yeah, my dear Frank, he was my boss in the Silhouettes way back in the early 60s.
Yeah.
Bless him, he passed away last year. And
And what was his name again, Frank?
Mac McKinnon.
Matt McKinnon,
Warren
yeah.
McKinnon.
Yeah, God bless him. We all love him, and a lot of friends out there would know him.
Yes, they do.
So I want to give him a mention because
Thanks,
he
Shane.
was one of them, stalwart guys, members of the band, the Kavalliers.
Yeah.
Now you spell your name Kavalliers
Yes, yeah.
with a double L, right?
The double L, yes.
Now that came about only recently, I'm sure, because I got upset about
I know.
how do I spell this name?
And some of the guys from the original band have challenged Billy Belton, bless you, Billy, has
Billy's
said it had
Vila.
had one L in the old days. Now that was brought about by Alfonso Kyle. When I joined the band in 2007, Alfonso said I put an extra L in the Kavalliers because I wanted it to be different from the 60s, so that's why he called it with a double L. So it was Alfonso Kyle and the Kavalliers, and now we're just the Kavalliers. So I've left the double L on board. And
Just been
the same. Yeah.
Now Billy Belton, can I get the connection there between you and Billy Belton? Because Billy Belton is a well-known bass player, around New Zealand, because he did start out many, many years ago with the Kavalliers.
Yeah, yes, he did. He played rhythm guitar with the Kavalliers, and then he went to bass. Well, I met Billy in the early 60s when I had my first Jansen bass, which I bought from him down there in Sydney Eddies he worked for.
Yeah, because I used to get in and he was pushing those Jansen guitars
he
because they
was
stopped.
too.
You could only get Jansen in there.
Well,
just
my
about
first
one
bass
stage.
was a Jansen 6-string bass.
So there you were doing your Jarvis thing.
Yeah, but I was. But Mac McKinnon said, "Well, you play the bass very well, but the bass doesn't sound very good." And so I approached Billy about getting a Fender bass. But in the end,
and he got you one?
I got it from Lewis Eddies, which was the brother up the road.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
But
of course, Billy, went on and he played different bands.
Andy played in the band with him, I think.
And you played with Billy Belton as well.
Yeah, I played.
Billy Belton, ladies and gentlemen, is a classic bass player who's still around. He comes to all our gigs. He's a great supporter of New Zealand music, and he watches the show. And I just want him to know, we have some people that know you out here, mate.
Be careful.
He's a lovely guy. Be careful.
Really nice guy.
Look out for Billy. Billy the Kid. But tell me your association with Billy.
Well, Billy asked me to join up with Ray Wolf's band when they were forming the Avengers. Ray Wolf
67, 66?
Yeah, it would have been, probably before that, actually, about probably 65.
This is Ray Wolf and the Avengers?
Yep. So I did.
Yeah.
And that's how we got together. And then the Avengers broke up and I went playing with Crombie Murdoch and Billy at a little can club in Victoria Street, I think it was.
Yeah. And you was playing with Billy?
Yep.
Yeah, great bass. But
Yeah,
it's great
nice
to know
guy.
these stories because it's all history and the history of New Zealand rock and roll. And Billy's a real strong part of that. He played around the gigs and he was such a supporter, and he still is. I still see him out there in the audience going, "There you go, mate," you know. And he sends me an email or something and says, "Thought the gig was great," or "He thought it was bad," whatever. You know, he gives me a review.
That's good.
Lovely.
Good, honest
and
opinion.
I really
from
appreciate
Billy.
it. Yeah,
He was
can't
great.
go wrong.
He owned that. He owned that. I think it was Stereo World. It was called Shane. Was that in
He was
Dominion Road? It was on the
Yeah,
corner of
that's
the big
right.
blue
Yeah,
building,
yeah,
and the
that
council
going for a
wanted him to
while, yeah.
change the colour or something.
Yeah.
I remember that. But he's retired now.
Yeah, he's retired. He's sitting back and enjoying the music.
Enjoying the music
Yeah,
of the
like you
Kavalliers.
guys, of the Kavalliers. All right, we're going to enjoy some more music of the Kavalliers. Let's get back to the CT Club. I think we'll enjoy a nice Santana number.
You got to change your evil ways, baby. Before I stop loving you, you got to change your baby. And every word that I say is true. You got me running and hiding all over town. You got me speaking, and running around. This can't go on. Lord knows you gotta change, baby. Baby, when I come home, baby, my house is dark and my pots are cold. You hang around, yeah, baby, with Gene and Joan and who knows who. I'm getting tired of waiting, fooling around. I'll find somebody who won't make me feel like a clown. This can't go on. Lord knows you gotta change.
Santana, oh, marvellous stuff. Good guitar playing there too.
Very nice.
Young man on guitar, what was his
Yes.
name again? It was
David Marshall
David
playing
Marshall,
guitar.
yeah. That's a rock and roll name if I ever heard one. Marshall. Did you
Marshall.
use a Marshall amp?
Yeah, I think he's got a Fender, but don't tell him where.
Don't tell anyone. Oh, can't go wrong with a Fender, mate. Look, you guys, I know when I first saw you, you were a very 50s orientated group. You played good old rock and roll, basically. And you've moved on a little bit. You're playing more 60s now, 70s. Do you see there's a progression? You just sort of working your way through the repertoire as you go through the years, or
Well,
you want to stick with this?
when we caught up with you at the Auckland Rock and Roll Club, we
Yes.
tended to play 50s rock and roll
Yeah.
because that's what they wanted.
They asked for a lot.
Exactly, that's what
So,
I
yeah.
wanted to do.
So
I
outside
assume
of that, we play other things.
You do play a lot
and
of
we've
other stuff.
moved
That's
on
good
a
to
little
know.
as well.
Okay. So you do play all around, all sorts of genres.
Well, we've both joined rock and roll clubs, and we find they do play a bit more modern music as well at the clubs, Andy. It's just not.
Yeah.
So
They do. I mean,
yeah,
you
and
can't
so
play 50s rock and roll.
not all night
always
really.
because they're all going, and we're still here, you know. We've got to move on. But anyway, look, if anyone wants to get hold of your band, the Kavalliers with a double L, I guess that's how you look it up on the website. If we go on the internet and we look up Kavalliers with a double L.
And
Yep.
a K, of course.
And with a K, of course,
yeah.
yeah. And the spelling's right below me on the screen. But so they look you up on the website, and it's got all your details about the band, where they can book you, where they can hire you.
Yes, it,
Yep.
it talks about our gigs coming up for the next
Upcoming
few months,
gigs.
and talks about the guys. We have sound bites on board.
Yep.
Our website was set up by Anne and his lovely wife Kerry, so we're very
Yeah.
lucky that we thank them for that. And we're on Facebook. My
They're
wife
on
does that.
Facebook.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah, don't
we're in the
forget
modern
that.
world. Hey, we're in the
Hey,
21st century.
we're
Shane.
up there, man.
We're up there, man.
The Kavalliers, look out! At a website near you. No, it's fantastic, and that's what it's all about. Isn't it fantastic? Social media now that we have at our disposal. In the old days, it was posters, sticking them on walls, walking for miles, and telephone call after telephone call, and you had to go to a public telephone box to put 4 pennies in before you get through. or tap it out if you can work out how to do it.
Free? Oh my goodness! Don't tell Telecom that.
Yeah.
But
Oh, they're
Andy's
over
got, Andy's got a great website he's set up with
Yeah.
Muso. So
Andy,
yeah.
Yeah, I set up a website, must be 6 or 7 years ago, called NZ Musos.
Yes,
And it's basically so that musicians can put their own memories up on the
that's
website.
right. I've seen that. Yes.
Because there's a number of books out which tend to feature people such as your good
Yeah.
self. And people like Bruce and I
Yeah.
sort
no
of disappear off into the
Yeah.
distance.
And you've usually got the best stories because you're talking about what those fellas got up to, and we don't tell you. That's true. But I've seen some great stories, and when I sit around with the musos in a dressing room, I hear 100 stories I've never heard before.
Absolutely.
I mean, it really is funny, and they're all funny. I mean, you think we were clowns, really, wouldn't you? It goes on and on for history, and
Great days.
that's what your site is all about.
Yep.
Musos go on there, tell the stories about escapades and whatever. You know,
basically their memories,
their memories of the
the
music,
way they want to say them.
the gigs,
What they did and
which
what
is
they're
a
doing
great
now.
site, and it's going great. You must have a great response.
Well, yeah, it started off with a bit of a hiss and a roar. It's quietened down a bit now, and unfortunately, a lot of people are tending to pass away at the moment. Which
Yeah,
is a
well,
bit
that's
sad.
another reason we need you to go on to Andy. What's the site
It's
called?
called nzmusos.co.nz.
nzmusos.co.nz. If you've got a story to tell and you're in a rock and roll band, go on there and give us the story, because
That's it.
that's what it's all about, the history of New Zealand rock and roll.
Yep.
Thanks, Andy. It's been a real pleasure having you here,
Thanks,
mate.
Mate.
And we're not going to wait another 40 years before we
The
catch
beat-
up.
the beat goes
we
on.
Can't do that. We haven't got the time.
No, we haven't got
because
the
the
time.
beat is going on. And we're rocking the planet.
We're,
by the
oh,
way.
of course we are rocking the planet as well.
He watches 2 shows. Anyway, great having you here, guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Rockin the Planet with Shane. And we'll pop out and we'll just go out with a little bit more of the rock and roll at the CT Club with the Kavalliers. Good night.
Sometimes it's like someone took a knife, baby, edgy and dull, cut a 6-inch valley through the middle of my soul. At night I wake up with the sheets soaking wet